Alright guys, welcome back to Michael Mortal, and welcome to my latest and greatest guide video for Elden Ring. Today, we're going to be learning how to craft Firebone arrows, fletched Firebone arrows, Firebone bolts, and Neutralizing Boluses. Where do we find these recipes? What do these items do? Where do we find the materials we need? All that and more will be covered in this video, so let's get started. Firebone arrows are arrows crafted from animal bones that deal added fire damage. Whereas a normal bone arrow would deal 35 physical damage, a firebone arrow will deal 10 physical damage and 90 fire damage. If your target isn't resistant to fire, that's literally just more damage. If your target is weak to fire, then it becomes a lot more damage. Fletched firebone arrows are just firebone arrows that can be used from a much greater distance, but also require extra materials to craft. Firebone bolts basically follow the same logic as firebone arrows versus bone arrows. Whereas a regular bone bolt deals 40 physical damage, a firebone bolt will deal 15 physical damage and 75 fire damage. Also keep in mind your bow or crossbow scaling, distance, crits, and resistances will all affect the final damage calculation. Finally, neutralizing boluses are consumables that can be used to cure poison and eliminate poison buildup. With this item, you'll be able to safely navigate poisonous environments and fight enemies that attempt to poison you. So, in order to learn how to craft these items, we are first going to need the Armorer's Cookbook 2. Head to the coastal cave to the southwest of the First Step site of Grace. Leave the cave and head southeast down the beach until you reach a nomadic merchant taking shelter under some ruins. Purchase the cookbook from him for 600 runes. It's as easy as that. Now that we have the cookbook, if we open up our crafting menu, we will find that new options have been added to our repertoire. Now we simply have to find the materials required. For the sake of ease, let's start with the fletched firebone arrows. This makes crafting the other two much easier. As we can now see, to make the fletched firebone arrows, we're going to need thin beast bones, smoldering butterflies, and flight pinions. The best farm I have found for bones is near the Church of Pilgrimage site of Grace in the northwest quadrant of the Weeping Peninsula. Starting from the Morncastle Ramparts site of Grace, head northwest back up the path, and go to the side path to the west off the main road. Keep going till you find a bridge. Cross the bridge and you will eventually see a church on top of the hill to the north. Enter the bridge and light the grace. Here we are. Leaving the church, take a right down the big hill that leads all the way down to the coast. On the way, you will encounter 30-some-odd roly-poly goats. As I've said before, I prefer to do this kind of hunting on horseback with a bow. Just make sure you only use non-fletched regular bone arrows to minimize the waste. These guys will drop more than enough thin bones to replace the ones you use to make the arrows you're going to use to farm them with. Ride down the hill and slaughter the helpless saps. Then ride back up and collect your bounty. Almost every single one of these goats will drop bones. This farm goes from easy breezy to easy cheesy when combined with the buff from the silver pickled Fowlfoot. Follow this link to learn how to craft them. It will make many of your other crafting farms so much faster. Using the farm at Fort Height that I showcased in that video, you can get both the 4-toed fowl feet you need for the silver feet, and quite a lot of the flight pinions on the way. Side note, spoilers ahead. If you defeat Starscourge Radahn, causing the meteor to fall from the sky, splitting a giant hole into Mistwood and allowing access to the Eternal City, Mistwood will change in many ways, one of which includes that these two birds will disappear, rendering this farm impossible. After this point, I suggest farming the Church of Dragon Communion for pinions and fowl feet. There are many sets of birds along the ridges to the left of the Grace, facing the church. So, with the thin bones farm granting us an absurd amount of bones, and the flight pinions from the Silverfeet farms, that leaves the Smoldering Butterflies. I also covered this ingredient in my Armorer's Cookbook 1 guide. Check out that video for a deeper dive. Go to the Liurnia Lake Shore Grace and grab the butterflies from the nearby merchant's campfire as I showcased. With those farms in place, we can create all the firebone arrows, fletched firebone arrows, and firebone bolts that we need. Keep in mind the amounts do vary. Firebone arrows require 3 thin beast bones, whereas bolts only require 2. Finally, we have the Neutralizing Boluses. If we open up our crafting menu, we will see that this item requires herba, cave moss, and great dragonfly heads to craft. Funny thing about this farm is, it may sound difficult at first, but I have found a route that gives you exactly what you need every single run. For this farm, we're going to head to Murkwater Cave. It lies in Limgrave, just east of the Aegeal Lake north side of Grace. Hopping on Torrent, head east towards the cliffs that dump off into the river. You can either try your luck jumping down from a low point and hoping to hit a tall rock so as not to die from the fall damage, or you can head north. Follow the river until you reach a Grace surrounded by decimated ruins. Light the grace and head around, jumping up the ledges till you reach a spirit spring on the far side of the chasm. Jump down it and you will take no fall damage. Now that we are at river level, head south down the river till you reach a cave. Unfortunately, an NPC invader will attack here, meaning you will almost certainly be kicked off of Torrent before reaching the cave we are trying to get to. Also, there will now be a fog door blocking off access to the cave until we defeat the invader. Bloodyfinger Neregus, the invader in question, uses heavy bleed and fast attacks to overwhelm the player with his daggers. Particularly watch out for the heavy wind-up that indicates his projectile bleeding slashes. Backstabbing, parrying, staggering, and bleed are all decently effective against him. Now, depending on your life choices and or story progression, Bloodyfinger Hunter Yura should join the world to aid you in battle. He wields the absurdly long Nagakiba katana, and will help immensely should he be summoned. He can help you proc bleed, stagger the guy out, or even just distract him for the opportune backstab. After successfully fending off the invader, Yura will return to his world and the cave will now be available. Light the grace inside and you will see a patch of cave moss right next to it. This is step 1 of the farm. Grab the moss and head back outside. Taking a right from the cave mouth, hop on Torrent and follow the rocks along the bank of the river. Eventually, you will find an herba nestled in some bushes. Pick it up and keep going out into the middle of the river, where you will find a dragonfly. Bait it to get close, or shoot it from afar. These don't always drop their heads, unfortunately, so you might not get exactly one craft every time per run. Rush back to the Grace on Torrent, or fast travel back to the cave. If you think it will net you faster returns, you can farm multiple cave moss by clearing Murkwater Cave, multiple herba from jumping up the Spirit Spring next to the Morn Castle Ramparts Grace, and multiple dragonflies from just outside the Impaler's Catacombs in the northeast Weeping Peninsula. Side note, if you go on to clear out this cave, you will find Patches, the guy who's got the recipe for the gold pickled fowl foot. This item raises runes gained from defeating enemies when consumed. I will cover this in greater detail in a later video. And there you have it. Everything you need to know about the Armorer's Cookbook 2 and crafting the items it contains. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Please remember to like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more Elden Ring guides and other awesome content. Also, please leave me any suggestions or comments down below. Is there anything you'd like to see me cover specifically? Did I miss something important? Any tips or tricks to share with the community? It's all welcome here. Until we meet again, bye!